I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I haven't visited with our chairman, Tom Houston, since the middle of last week. I know he's going to be on vacation next week and the week following, but I assume Tom will probably step in here pretty soon. First order of business is to approve our minutes on Monday, September the 27th. Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Tim has moved.
Second.
Jesse is second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 4-0, Angie. We don't have any miscellaneous motions? Don't have anything, I should have said, in the consent agenda to start with, so we're gonna hit the ground running. Our agenda appears to be pretty short for this week, but we know that there'll be probably be some changes in it, so. Jeremy, if you're ready for your report to the commission, come on up. And I'm not sure whether the mic is on or not.
Looks like it is.
Okay, welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you. Good morning. Just want to give everybody some updates on things that are going on in the hospital world. Over the last month, we did finish up our 2 remodel projects that we were working on, the emergency department and then the 2 registration areas. So if you guys haven't had a chance to look at that, then next time that you're in the hospital, take a peek. Our emergency department has 2 trauma rooms now with sliding glass doors for privacy. And one of those has a negative air pressure room in it, so that'll contain any infectious diseases. And that was one of the ways that we were able to use that funding from COVID funds to be able to pay for that. Also, our registration areas now are more confidential. They have some privacy doors on them, things like that, that are allowing one person to register at a time and be able to have those conversations. So,
You know, I've already had 3 people comment on that.
Good.
And they said that's a huge plus.
Yeah.
For being more confidential.
Yeah, I think so. It's a nice area. Then the last thing was we've got a sliding glass door for security with badge entry from that emergency side. So that's been beneficial already since we've had it, just keeping people from going into the hospital without permission. So the other thing that we're working on, as you guys know, is the selection of our new electric medical record system, and that's going to be a huge decision for us over the next 4 to 6 weeks. We're going to be choosing which vendor to go with. Financially, it's a commitment over a 7 to 10 year period, and probably about a $3.5 million decision that we're making by the time we pay the monthly payments and the upfront costs. So something that we're not taking lightly, and that we're trying to make sure that we choose the right vendor and partner to go with over the next decade or so. Some of the things that, as you guys know, is going to affect, the timeliness of our billing and how clean our claims go out to the insurance companies and things like that. So really looking forward to it. It's going to be a transition process that once the decision and contract are signed, will take about 6 to 12 month process to actually change over from the company that we're currently using to the new company. And end of life for our current company that we're using is December 31st of next year. If you guys remember, that company got bought out by another EMR company, and we'll be transitioning away from offering any support for that service anymore after December 31st of 22. Last thing I wanted to tell you guys was the month of August, some of our financial information. Had a pretty good month, actually very good. Had the best gross revenue month that we've had on books at the hospital, just shy of $4 million, about $42,000 shy. So that was the good news. Unfortunately, we do have quite a bit of bad debt write-offs and contractual adjustments that come off of that. Our net patient service revenue, which is what it amounts to after you take that bad debt and contractual adjustments off, came to about 2.2 million. So we did have about $1.7 million that we didn't end up being able to collect through those bad debts. And Juanita did tell us that some of our bad debts are a little bit higher over the last year and a half than what they typically have been, and that's probably accounted to probably some people out of jobs and things like that. As far as our bottom line for the month, we did have about a loss of 80,000, and year to date about 2.6 million operational loss. And then of course we get to add in the tax appropriations in after that, which allowed us to have a positive bottom line for the month of August of 250,000. Year to date, we're sitting with all of our CARES funds that we're working on still, either having to repay or spend down. Positive bottom line of about 4.1 million for year to date. So as we get closer to the end, I was just telling Dawn that we did get an extension for our audit, which was previously September 30th. Now they've extended that to the end of this month. So we'll get that wrapped up. We'll find out how much money that we're going to need to pay back, and then be able to spend the rest of the money that we've received from the CARES funds through the end of this year. So should be a good year for us overall, and looking forward to some of the additional things that we're able to purchase with those CARES funds that we've got. One of the last things I told Dawn just a minute ago was we're waiting to receive the amount that one of the last grants that we're probably going to receive is through the KDHE Sparks grant, and that is designed to create a retention structured program for your staff. So we are anticipating, the amount is based off the number of beds that each facility has. There's a $50 million grant to the state of Kansas, and they're allocating it based off the number of beds each hospital has. We're anticipating it's going to be maybe 90,000 or so to the hospital. Once we know that number, we're creating a program that will allow us to pay some of our staff that we've either lost to agency or folks that are getting recruited to other agencies at a high rate of pay, and trying to keep them here within our local organization. So we're working on that, and probably will know this week how much that grant will be for our facility. So with that, I entertain any questions that you guys might have. Otherwise,
Jeremy, you talked about your debt. Debt or bad debt's been pretty excessive right now. Maybe excessive is not the right word. At what point in time do you get pretty aggressive in going after these clients, or whatever you want to call them? Try to go after that and collect that.
yeah.
Do you have an attorney on a retaining fee to service that for you?
So we use a couple of collection companies right now, and I feel like we do a pretty good job. So just because it does go to bad debt doesn't necessarily mean that we're still not trying to collect it. So after it goes off the books to bad debt, anything that we recover does get recouped back onto our bottom line. So that doesn't necessarily mean that it's completely written off. It just means that it's gone through our collection process internally, and then we're working on it on the backside. So yeah, we do send those to collection. They do go to court, those types of things. And then we also offer some loan programs for people to pay back those outstanding balances. So we offer a couple of pretty good programs here that I hadn't seen other places that are kind of partnered with a couple of our local banks. And so, and people take pretty good advantage of that. So it's a nice option for them. And whenever they don't make their payment on those loans, those also end up going over to that bad debt side.
You mentioned a good option for them. Is it too good of an option? Too good of an option not to get more aggressive and get it done up front?
I think we're trying to work with people understanding, that hospital medical bills are pretty high. So being able to offer methods of payment, of course, best case scenario would be to get it all up front. Even offering possible discounts if you pay everything up front within a certain amount of days. But for those that cannot pay, large bills all at once, this is a good program. And it's good for both of us, them and us. That way it doesn't go to collections, because once it goes to collections, they're taking 25-30% off the
Because I
top.
asked you what that, I figured it'd be a third or
Yeah.
So as part of your bad debt, Medicare, Medicaid, you bill out, you say you bill out that this is a $5,000 procedure, and Medicare, Medicaid says, no, Jeremy, it's only a $3,000 procedure.
Yeah.
That's all we're paying. Is that part of your equation?
It's not part of bad debt, but it is part of what we call contractual adjustments.
Contractual.
Yeah, so there's an example here that I have of a Medicare and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas patient that had a CT scan. And so the charge was $1,800 for the scan, and then there was another $450 charge for the radiologist to read that scan. We received $370 from Medicare, $370 from Blue Cross Blue Shield. That was our payment on that $1,800. And then $56 we received on that $450 from Medicare, and then $1,394 from Blue Cross Blue Shield. So out of $2,300 on this particular charge, we received $817. So we wrote off $1,500 in contractual adjustments. So that's part of this. When I say contractuals, that's what that is that we're contractually obligated to take the payment that particular vendor paid us. So bad debt is not part of that, but bad debt is just what people haven't paid.
Bad debt, probably, you talk about pay up front or so, probably if the people have to pay cash, they probably can't afford insurance, so they're probably not gonna be able to pay anyway, so it's good that you are making some kind of payment plans.
It's a nice program that I have not seen before, so and people take advantage of it, so it's good.
And a lot more people take advantage of just not paying.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Apparently a lot.
seems like that's getting to be too often.
You mentioned some of your, sparks money to pay employees more, keep them. Have you had significant number? Are you down quite a bit from where you want to be for employees?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you always want to be 100%, but right now we are working on getting several people hired. So the good thing is we've seen applications coming in, still down from where we want to be. The clinic is down, and then the hospital, especially the nursing, OR, and labor and delivery departments. So working on getting those staff back up so that we can feel good about not having to bring in outside agency and paying them twice as much as what they're worth or what it would take to hire somebody locally.
So what's gonna happen when the Sparks money runs out with the employees that you bring in and you're paying them more money?
Yeah.
Is that just gonna be money out of the hospital's pocket?
On some of it,
Because nobody wants to lose what they've gained.
yeah, and that's one of the things that we're thinking about when we're designing this program is something that can be a long-term solution, whether that means that we use this money to pay the upfront start of a raise, or that it's a retention program that we ask them to stay for a certain number of months after they're paid like a lump sum payment. But the goal is to reward the people that have stuck with us, not necessarily the ones that have left and want to come back. So one of the stipulations is that they have to have been working for us when we received this notification on September 1st. So
Can the hospital financially hold this program after the Sparks money is gone?
well, and like I mentioned, the amount is not that much. It's about 90,000 is what we're anticipating. And just depending on, yeah.
Money.
I mean, if we looked at a raise across the board, it would be significantly more than 90,000. But yeah, I think with the amounts that we're looking at right now, I think that the hospital can suffice with the tax appropriations that we're receiving. But without that, yeah, we would be suffering big time.
And you mentioned bonuses, so you're maybe a one-time payment, so it's not really raising. Someone may not raise salary, just give them a bonus for staying. So then, when that comes out of Sparks money, so then your rest of it right back where you were started out.
Yeah, that's one potential option, is to pay and then require a certain amount of months back on the backside. There's some different things that the state has put out there as examples that other people are talking about. So that's a good thing, is collaborating with other facilities and ideas that other people are having. That way you're not just a one-man show out there trying to reinvent the wheel.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
How's the shots coming, the mandatory vaccines? Is it getting close?
It is, and that's something that I'm still keeping track of. I have a question to our Kansas Hospital Association on, those dates, because it seems to be getting pushed back. The nursing home is first and foremost, because that was one of the ones that was rolled out before the healthcare in general. So we actually are giving flu vaccines last week and this week. So one of the things that we're doing while we give those flu vaccines is we're asking people, what their opinion is, if they're planning on getting the shot, if they've already received the initial doses, which particular one they got. Of course, if they were received from us, we've got it documented, but some people have received it outside the facility as well. So as soon as we have all that information compiled, then we'll take a percentage and figure out. We've even been looking at by department, which specific departments may be high participants and which ones are low. That way we know if there's a low participation, if they're planning on not getting it, then we'll know that there may be some recruitment efforts that have to be done in that department after the mandate. So we're continuing to work on that.
I did visit with Jeremy before our meeting started, how close they were to preparing a 3, 4, 5 page departmentalized breakdown, monthly or quarterly, whatever it may be. And quarterly might be often enough. And Jeremy said they were still working on the process to supply that type of information to us. So, any other questions or comments for Jeremy? Before you do leave, I think those watching our video, Bob's got his pink shirt on. I didn't even think about October being that. And so I encourage all the rest of us to start wearing our pink shirts here for the rest of the month. And for the purpose, or I'm not sure what the right word is, but, the reason behind it. So.
Yeah, so everybody get your memos and support breast cancer awareness.
Yeah.
So, thank you, guys.
Jeremy, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
As the agenda that we have printed before us, that is the takes care of the agenda we have, but we know we have more going on.
I think there's an update on that. We have Heartland's auction here.
We've been handed that, Angie.
Yeah.
And that's set up for 9:30,
Yes.
okay? And I noticed Craig, Superintendent for Burlington Schools, Craig, have you got a few minutes? Or
Just a couple minutes, if that's okay.
If since they're set up at 9:30, you've got about And we're not perfect on time, but we got a few minutes.
Yeah, I'm not gonna take up much time. Craig Marshall, Superintendent of Schools at Burlington. Just wanted to come, and I know last time I was here, talked to you a little bit about our Early Learning Center, and I know Tim was able to, and Bob was able to come to our open house. And so I just wanted to just offer the opportunity. I know that you guys have a lighter agenda today. I'm gonna give Angie my cell phone number so that she can maybe call when the meeting's done, and if you would like to go take a quick tour over there and see the Early Learning Center, I think it would be terrific. We currently have 30 kids in the program right now. I think there are 5 that are in-county kids, but not quote-unquote Burlington USD 244 kids. So we also have, I think, 3 or 4 students that are outside of our county for attendance as well. So as you can tell, we're serving a lot of kids. We started out with 18 kids in the program, and we're up to 30, and we actually have a waiting list now. So again, trying to find staff, again, as Jeremy mentioned, it's a challenge at times with staff and COVID-related issues and so on and so forth that we're all dealing with. But we're hoping to be able to, again, hopefully get that waiting list down to 0 here very soon. But I just thought I would come in, and again, you guys as the county commissioners through economic development made a very generous donation to us to help us with the program and the startup costs of a new business. We greatly appreciate that. Again, we greatly appreciate the partnership that we have with the county and the county commissioners. And anything we can do, obviously, to work together, it's always an opportunity that we would like to, to further and look at different projects in the future. And I say we just greatly appreciate you guys and what you're doing. I know leadership is a challenging task, and again, I know it's not easy for you guys, but thank you very much. So, any questions, real
But it
quick?
needs to be a joint venture. There's absolutely no question that, correct? You said you've already got a waiting list. Is that waiting list there because you don't have a full staff yet, or what is your max?
2 different things. Yes, to answer your question, yes, staff, we are looking to try to hire people. But we also have ratios that we have with our infants. Our infant number is full. Our waiting list are the numbers of infants that we can serve. That number is full right now. So what's going to happen here in the next 3 to 4 months, we're going to have about 3 to 4 kids that will transition from an infant room to an older kids room. When they transition, we'll pull those infants, those 3 to 4 kids that are on our waiting list. They will then have a spot if they still have a place for daycare and early learning. So it's all about ratios and numbers, if you will, and that's our big thing. So yes, it's a little bit of staff, but also the ability to obviously transition kids from one room to the next room. So yes. Other questions?
If you had to staff, what would be your maximum?
We are by KDHE, we can go up to 72 kids. That would be a wow number. I mean, incredible if you guys have the ability to come over and maybe spend 10 minutes, just a quick little talking tour. That would be an incredible number. We had 72. It would be really tight to there. But I think our ideal number that we're looking at is somewhere, I'm going to say in that 48 range. I think that would be ideal for ratios, for staff. What we're seeing, 48 would be really, really nice. But we started out with 18 on June 1, and here we are on October 1 with 30, and we've got 4 or 5 on the waiting list. So there's this need that exists, and it's great that we have these younger kids because they're going to be going through with us for the next 3, 4, 5 years. So we're going to have them, and then as they get older, that obviously they just grow with our program.
What's the top ages you work with?
Up to 5.
I'm sorry.
Up to 5.
Up to
Kindergarten. Yeah, we basically serve up to kindergarten, and then the kids obviously transition to kindergarten. We have some kids in our preschool, like our half-day preschool at the elementary. We have a half-day preschool program there. They will come and they'll be with us. Let's say, for example, if they're in the morning for preschool at the elementary school, we go pick them up and they come and join us for the afternoon. So it's kind of a joint venture. That way the parents have full day coverage. So.
This is actually a daycare, is it a daycare situation, I guess, or?
Yeah, we call it, again, our title of the program is Burlington Early Learning Center, because I would say that what we're striving for is more than just daycare, because it's early literacy, numeracy, play-based learning. Our playground just to the south of the facility is just tremendous. We're, again, shapes, numbers, colors. We want to have that piece going on with the kids. So hopefully they just continue to learn, grow, develop. And I know a lot of the home-based daycares, they do a lot of that as well. We just thought we would call it, a term is, again, Burlington Early Learning Center, our title, just because we're trying to do a lot of early learning scenarios for the kids.
Well, I do know there's new money that come to the state of Kansas, and I hope that you guys are filing for it, for daycare.
We're looking at different grants, because again, whenever you open up a new business and the different things that you see, and of course, like I say, we're dealing with COVID related, opening up a new business is challenging, let alone in a pandemic and with kids and staff and so on and so forth, starting from scratch. But yes, we are looking at, I think Bobby Skipper and I had some conversations about some grant funding, and we are applying for other grants, because again, we want to make sure that this, like I say, this is just the best place for kids to learn, grow, develop. The parents have a place where the kids can be every day. They have that safety and security to know that they have a place for their kids to be, and they can go to work and rest assured everything's A-okay. So yeah, we are looking at grants. I think there's the ARPA grant that obviously will maybe touch base with you coming up here, some money that the county has in regards to that. And so anyway.
I was gonna ask you if Bobby is part of your working process, so.
Yes, Bobby and I had a nice lunch on Friday and had a chance. We stay in touch about every month, the 2 months, we have lunch together and we just talk about different things. And again, like I say, any working relationships that end up, or partnerships that end up, we can work together with the county. We look forward to working with you guys on anything in the future. So.
Are the other school districts, are they considering daycare of any type at all?
I think 243, Nebo and Waverly, they do have a daycare program there. And I'm not sure about 245. I think they, again, Matt Thompson's the new superintendent there.
One
I'm
time,
not sure.
I think they were discussing, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know if the transition, if that's something that Matt is looking at, but anyway, it's very possible. It's needed. It's so important. And like Jeremy mentioned, you want to try to attract new employees. We need to make sure that the hospital knows that, hey, we've got excellent daycare, excellent school facilities, excellent county facilities, the recreation center, roads and infrastructure, like the fiber board, which Jesse serves on the fiber board. We've got that fiber connectivity, and it's even going to get better with the work you guys are doing in your leadership with the, with the county on that piece. So we need to champion each other's positives, whether, they be, again, fiber connectivity or daycare or hospitals, great hospital system, and so many other things that we have here in the county that just can, help us with us, with that slight growth and that continued development here. So.
What are your hours?
We start at 7 in the morning and go to, I'm thinking around 5:30. We may look at adjustments to those hours potentially. We're kind of having, again, we may extend those. Again, trying to find employees is a challenge. You got to have employees to be able to extend the hours, or to maybe look at, like I say, some different timeframes to open up. So, but right now, that's kind of our timeframe. Our first employee typically gets there about 7 in the morning, and the last one leaves about 5:30, 5:45, depending on the pickup time.
So what do you, at 5:30, a parent doesn't show up, you don't just stick the kid out the
No,
door?
absolutely not. We just pay the staff overtime.
They call you and you come over and stay with them?
I've subbed about 5 days at the daycare in the last 2 weeks, because we've been a little short staffed. I love it. The kids, I know a lot of the kids there by name, and I've gotten a chance to meet their parents, and they're just so thankful to have the facility they have. So no, we don't set them at the curb. We wait and we just pay the overtime to our staff, and even some of the kids, not so sure they want to leave because they have so much fun, but that's a good thing. That's a really, really good thing. So.
Any other questions for Craig? Thanks for the update, Craig. Good luck
Thank
to
you. Yes, and Angie has my number when you guys are done. If she would just call me, and like I said, I'd be more than happy to walk over there and just give you a quick little tour. And again, thank you so much, and look forward to future partnerships and relationships. Very thank you.
This gets us down to our 9:30 time frame. We have two gentlemen here from Heartland Auction, I think. Wayne, are you a part of this process? You want to
No,
introduce our
I
two
do have a
gentlemen?
motion though for the commission and an update on 2 items. So I can go either before or after, whatever would be convenient. If you have a schedule, I'd be glad to wait.
Okay, if it'll work for you, we'll invite the two gentlemen from Heartland up and see what their presentation is, and We've got a card here, but I don't see any names on it. So-
There's a name on the bottom of it, but, I'm Brandon Chancellor, I'm Director of Sales Department Auction.
Brandon?
I'm Brandon Chancellor, yes. And this is Jeff Selman, he's the territory guy for this area.
Welcome to our meeting. So what do you have to offer?
Well, Jeff came to me and approached me about you guys had a bunch of equipment that you were gonna auction off. So we kind of just got this piece of paper together here on the values that we got on your equipment that you're gonna be listing. Our values all come from our insight or we sell everything on auction time. And so auction time has its own, value. I guess it's called VIP. But, so all these prices in our column come straight from our own website that we sell our equipment on. And so with that being said, the totals are down here on the bottom. $104,000 is what we got for the stuff you have coming up here. And then there was 3 more items that you guys were possibly selling in the future. We got 98,000 on those. Just a little background on auction time. Auction time has the world's largest bidder platform basically in the world. We've had a few auctions that have had bids in Canada. We've had items actually go to Canada and Mexico. We've had some bidding even done in Poland. So it's a worldwide audience. There's over 7 million bidders, and I believe there's a little over 3,000 different dealers in the United States that buy equipment off of this website. So we got down here, 8% commission on basically these items. And then over here on the side is that little red box that says auction time fees. That's what auction time charges us to sell equipment on their website. But with that being said, we can also change the commission a little bit to make it less on you guys and more on the buyer, but it's still, in a roundabout way, it all affects it. I mean, you're still getting basically the same amount of money, whether you pay more commission now or if the buyer has to pay. So, the way it kind of works is 3 to 4 weeks. If you decide to sell with us from the time the contract's signed, 3 to 4 weeks it'll sell, and then 2 weeks after within 2 weeks after the sale, you will receive your money, and you will have no money up front. So, if you guys have any questions, I'd be more willing to answer them.
Now, anybody can sell on auction time, can't they?
You have to be set up on auction.
You have to be set up.
Mhm. Yes. So,
These are your projected prices from your company as well as Big Iron and Purple Wave.
yes.
To the best of your knowledge, these are the best comparables that you can come up with, which puts you in the lead
Yes.
for maximize our opportunity.
Yes, and that's what I was explaining there at the beginning. These prices actually come off of our website for what equipment has been sold for. So they average it all together.
But you don't put a bottom line.
We can put a reserve on it, but that kind of hurts your bidding at times. So, if you put it, and the way we do reserves is a little funky. That's where you have money coming out of your pocket. We do basically we go through there and we set a reserve at 80% of all these values. They're on in our section here. And then you pay 50% of the commission up front on a reserve item. Just because we've got screwed around on reserves as far as people setting too high a reserve and then not paying a commission around all the listing fees, and the territory guys are out of their time and money. So we kind of shy away from reserves.
Jeff, you live here in Burlington?
Yes.
So you got Burlington.
Yep, I live out there by Mike Schmidt.
And Brandon, are you?
I'm from Great Bend.
Great Bend?
Yes. And our office is actually out of Garden City, but like I said, we got people Jeff kind of takes care of more of the eastern part of the state for us, but we got quite a few guys all over the state of Kansas.
And I know Jeff, so not sure where he came up with the list, but we're gonna discuss this because some of the stuff on this list, think we plan on selling locally because
Yeah, there
it
was
wasn't
a
gonna
couple
bring
of them, I
anything,
think.
so.
There was
I'm
a
not
trailer
sure,
and
I mean,
something
but
else. I got the list on the phone.
Okay, I do appreciate you coming in and you're an 8% fee basically to what you are.
8%, and then depending on the dollar amount, which the 8% is all together, that's not just one individual piece. So, but the auction time fee is per item, but ours is for the whole lump. So,
And we can move the.
yeah, we can change that around to where the buyer has to buy more or pay more commission, or the buyer pays less commission. I mean, like I said, we don't like to do that, but we can do it.
The net back to us, probably not gonna change.
No, it's not. No. I mean, you charge them more, they're not gonna bid as much.
Wayne, have you had an opportunity to look at this spreadsheet?
Not of their information, but the
Okay.
spreadsheet that we initially had provided, I assume pretty much the same.
Yeah.
They're just coming up with what their values would be or the expected values. There's no guarantee with the values. It's just basically, trying to compare an apple to an apple as much as you can.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's no guarantees with this. I think really the discussion that, you had mentioned, Bob had mentioned is really just to say what's gonna be the best choice for the county as you have those three options. So I think those are the things you'd have to consider.
And the other thing too, like that plug mill plant where we don't have anything on there, that's because it wouldn't pull up on auction time, but auction time has all the other different, avenues to where you can list equipment. Like they got that crane trader, they got 20 different magazines that it's an option to be able to put something like that in as well.
Is there any better time in the year to have an auction with this type of equipment than there is others?
I wouldn't
I'm
say
sure
that-
there's a month or two it's more attractive for some.
County equipment just seems to bring so much more money.
So
And I don't think it-
actually, the month of December won't have a better sale opportunity than what April will.
No, I don't think so. And honestly, I think right now is the way the prices are on everything, they're like 15 to 20% more than normal. So, I mean, if you was going to sell something, now would be the time
Now's
to
the
sell.
time to move.
Yeah,
I've heard auction times getting some pretty high rate.
We're getting into things I've heard of Purple Wave, I've heard of Big Iron. I haven't heard of Heartland, but, this presents a pretty good picture right here too on the spreadsheet. So.
And we can also people call us, we can do your viewings for you where you're not having your county guys come out. We can work out something with that too.
Well, the plus here is having somebody living local. I kind of like that. If we can help somebody live local, to me, that's a plus.
Right.
Anybody have any other questions?
so, yeah, if you guys got any other calls or any questions, feel free to call Jeff. He can't answer them. He can get a hold of me and we can go from there.
Well, on behalf of the commission, we appreciate you coming forward, bringing us this information. How quick we'll make a decision to move ahead, how quick we'll decide on what equipment we're gonna put into it. We can tell by looking at this that half of the items is 90% of our dollar value.
Right.
Yeah.
So like Bob said, some of the items that we may decide to sell locally may not be, maybe the lower value, probably all. So we do appreciate you coming forward, and how quick, whether that's gonna be this month or next spring, I can't answer. At least we got some information.
And like I said, if you guys come across anything else that you want to get a value on, it don't cost us nothing to look about it up for you, so. Anything we can do to help you guys, so.
Any other questions or comments? Again, thanks for coming in.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Wayne, you got a
Yes,
couple
sir.
items that we need to take a look at.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
First, we had a road closing due to a structure failure. And so that was Dobbin between 13th and 14th. So we had a laid up stone, it was a culvert 7x5. This is some of the photos that goes with it. That button on you're looking at there is on the north side. So What you may not see exactly is actually the wall is bowing out. Actually the embankment material was already washed out of it, and so there was a hole on the north side on the road itself. And so,
You said 13th and 14th,
on Dobbin, between 13th,
Dobbin or Gridley, could be north of Gridley.
yes, between 13th and 14th. We have, currently, we have a 80-inch railroad car that was available. And so what we're doing is using that pipe to replace it at this time. It should be possibly today or tomorrow that we'd have it open. So that's information. One of the items I missed here last week, I had it stuck in with all the other documents. As you saw, I had a pretty good load. But there was an operator had an accident. It's a little bit different as they were mowing. This was on Goodyear between 21st and 22nd. As they were mowing, they were pulling up out of the ditch, and then there was a truck that had went by, and it hit the truck, but they didn't stop. They damaged or bent the front wheel of the tractor, but they just kept going, and we never heard from them. But they never came back, never called or anything like this, and this has been a couple weeks since this accident.
Do we have any idea who's driving that truck or who owns that truck?
No, sir. And so, as they just kept going, they never contacted us, and we're pretty sure that there was some damage to the truck. There was no report, nobody had called. And so the operator was tested, according to our policy, but that did happen a couple weeks back, last month actually. So the next one is just construction zone, and that's, unless you have any questions, you just pass it out. Not that I had to show up for construction zone, but I do have a motion that I need to have you entertain and approve. So.
Save your trips.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my steps in, I guess. I'm not having too much luck separating this.
Are you guys gonna fog seal 50 highway west of Fauna?
No.
No. So what are they gonna do with when they come in and restripe it, what are they gonna do with the outer white line?
That's where they're just gonna take that, probably that clogs the oil. We're just gonna use oil.
Just use oil covering.
I want to pass the next one around. I'm having so much good luck here separating these, so. Not really. So, next one. If you don't mind, Dawn, I'm gonna let you pass this one around. That's the motion that I have that I'd like to visit with you on, be able to move forward onto it.
You got a whole bunch
I got a whole bunch of other stuff.
Well, that's the back paper I need, and yeah, thank you very much.
There we go. That'll be a different thing.
No, I need one.
You need this one?
I'll give you one.
No, I have one left.
All right, so, what we have is, a tractor, and so with this tractor, it's TR22. In the motion, what you'll find is Canada Clip has an estimate of $14,145. What we have there is it's electronic harness that's in the tractor that needs to be replaced. That's what's so expensive. And so the harness itself, the labor to put it in is where we're at. And so my motion for you is, as per policy, I'm asking that you would waive the informal bidding process, so we can allow this company, sole source company, to be able to do this work. And once again, it's estimated $14,145. So
CanQuip is not the only company that works on case magnums, are they?
at this point, our report was they were the company that was able to do the work. So we say that they're exclusive within how far of the state, I can't say. But I'd say the one, as you're looking at the company, Ottawa, it's not too far, it's capable of doing the work.
What year tractor is it?
What year tractor? What we have is a 2014, it was purchased in 2014.
What'd you say it was,
2014.
What's the hours on it?
This isn't necessarily current. Let's see if I have the hours here. I don't have the hours on this.
How long have we been having trouble with this?
More information such as that, I'd have to get back with you on. Right now, the urgency to go ahead and move this forward, as you know, is basically ordering parts and such. It takes a while to get anything, so the sooner the better. When they have it, we try to get it where we're at, and so that's the reason why I'm moving this one forward and asking you to consider it this week.
So the tractor's actually down now then?
Yes, and they're in Ottawa.
Are the parts available?
I was understanding that they were, that they would be able to order this and then get moving on to it, if we give them approval on it. So that was my understanding. But, you know, my wife ordered a stand-up freezer that was supposed to be delivered at the end of last month. Now it's not gonna be till November. So, you know, it's one of those things.
sitting on the ship out in the west coast? I'm sure.
Yes,
They
yes.
got piles and piles of shit back there. Angie, do I need to read both these paragraphs?
It's just the last one, yes, sir.
That's what I was gonna read. Motion is 2021-54, based on recommendation of the county engineer, move to approve the request for authorization to waive purchasing policy for informal bids to one Case Maxim 125 tractor TR-0292 for good cause due to a sole source for the request of service and repairs from CAN Equipment Inc., Ottawa, Kansas, with an estimated cost of $14,145. Funds to be paid from the Road and Bridge Fund.
Well, moved.
Jesse has moved,
All second.
Tim is second. Any further discussion?
You want to add 2014 in there?
Yeah, you know, it wouldn't hurt. That was a question that was asked. One, 2000, however you want to put it, 2014 Case Maxim. Okay, any other questions? If no, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 4-0.
Good luck.
Thank you. I do have 3 special issue checks. Just get that.
Wayne, you relate to your features.
All right, thank you. You're gonna get one.
Folder there. Evidently a lot of stuff down
And the special report.
Wayne, as we're getting into fall and winter, which kind of shuts some of your projects down a little bit, are you able to achieve all the projects that you hoped to achieve in 2021?
No, sir. No, basic on our asphalt program, it was quite a bit delayed. We're a little behind schedule on that one. We're still trying to finish up our fog seal. This is going to be a great week for that, as you can see with the weather. But we're not going to be able to finish all the roads that we had for our asphalt program. As far as our ditching and different things, as far as excavation, a lot of the road maintenance work, we made some headway, but keep in mind too, that of our project book, not only do we have our project book for 2021 that we approve at the end of the year, or the beginning of the first of the next year, is we also have the request from landowners to either put in entrances that basically take care of drainage issues that might be in front of the property. And so we have all those other requests as well that we add, that you'll find actually, if you really investigate it, you'll find other counties don't add that basically service level service. They basically stay focused on that project book, for the most part, you'll find the only thing that they would add would actually be drives. But we're adding, not only that, we're also adding, we're removing trees as we can, as we may be in the area, doing excavation on the ditching as we can in the area, in addition to additional drives. So, and the book itself. So we have accomplished a lot of work. Of course, we'll give a report at the end of the year of the work that we have finished. But actually, that book also is, will always exceed what the work can be accomplished in a given year. But it's a guide for us to continue to work on. I mean, making Matthias Lake, or getting Matthias Lake done this year was a big accomplishment. It was definitely more work than a person might look at in the beginning. But at the end of the day, I've heard a lot of good compliments coming back from it. I think it is the measure that needs to be taken when we're in these areas that have minimum drainage. So I think those type of ditching like that large ditch storage capacity really helps out the area. I believe that was the success that we had in Matthias.
Well, there's a lot of equipment out there for a considerable length of time, but it is finished on that first phase, so.
Yes, sir.
See how things go. I have had a couple of producers talk to me about mowing back, which we're starting to mow back. But I know it's in southeast, there, Leroy areas. Some of those country roads haven't been mowed hardly at all, and maybe not at all. But well, so, and I encourage them that, you know, sometime in the near future, all this stuff will be mowed and get mowed back. But with as many miles as we got, takes quite a bit, takes a lot of work.
It does. I mean, over 12, I mean, we have 1,200 miles of roads. That includes the asphalt and the gravel. We have 8 territory delayed operators that are working on the 980 some miles of gravel roads. And so the other remaining portion is a designated group that we have for mowing the asphalt. Our normal time is October, about the mid part of October. I hate to say 15th, but mid part of October is when we start our mowing back program. But we're already mowing back a few areas right now. But as far as our commitment, where you're actually going to see us mowing all the way back to the fences, is mid part of October. So.
Wayne, did you have any luck with the culvert up there on Farm Road I called you about the other day? Did they go up and look at it?
I'm drawing a blank right now. I know they're on Dobbin.
Last house, going south from 50 on the west side of the road. Culvert, rusted out half on the north side.
Yes, I believe we had looked at that. I believe it was still open and safe. I believe it was placed on the maintenance list. I believe that's where it was. It wasn't necessarily where it was to the point where it was affecting traffic safety. Is where I'm believing.
Okay, yeah, it's just leading into their driveway.
Yeah, drawing a blank. I
piece.
slept over the weekend.
Yeah.
I went to the junior livestock show and watched the grandkids, so. No
What,
excuse, but that's kind of where I'm coming up with.
I had some people ask me, is there anything, and I'm sure it's a state deal, and I've experienced this myself going north on 75 at nighttime. That 75 and 50 intersection, North 50 intersection,
Okay.
is very, very, very dark, and you cannot see either 50 east or 50 west.
Mhm.
Is there anything that can be done for lighting up there at that intersection?
One is what you're gonna, the procedure you're gonna find is you can make a request to KDOT for the traffic division. Most of the time, they will not, they're gonna have criteria that's gonna basically for the rural areas that do not necessarily favor rural areas. Because the traffic counts are gonna be considerably larger than what their guidelines are for the METCD, Manual Uniform Traffic Control Devices. And so what they're gonna do is come back and say, okay, if the locals want to do something, then basically we would have to pay for it. And it would be the lighting that would go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the lighting that you see right now, majority of the time is gonna be on 35 highway on your on-ramps, exit ramps. So like Levo, for example, is gonna be on where they have actual lighting.
Right. Well, I just didn't know. I mean, and I'd like to say, if you're meeting traffic, you can't see the intersection, you know, to turn, where you need to make your left turn or right turn. And of course, right turn's a little different if you're going north, because then you got your turning lane, you can follow the fault line. You know, if you're wanting to make a left-hand turn, if you're going north and go 50 west, you can't see it.
Right.
So I just didn't know if there was anything the state or anything.
What they're gonna find is on that, when you start using these guidelines for the manual uniform traffic control devices, they're gonna be looking at accidents and traffic counts. And we don't have enough either.
You don't think the traffic count would justify anything there?
You'd have to have the turning traffic count, and so on that particular road, you're looking around 600 vehicles a day is what you're looking at. And when they're looking at traffic counts, they're looking in the thousands of vehicles. And then you're looking at also the accidents caused due to the problem.
Right.
And so now lacking the accidents, it's unfortunate, but that's what they're at. And that's how they look at it.
Well, I think some of them accidents, like at 22nd and 75 is just basically because it's dark.
And it's unrelated, and some of the things that they cannot basically count is the non-reports. Basically the non-reports type of accidents or near accidents. And those are always the tough ones. That's the reason why my application for the acceleration, deceleration lanes on 75 has always been no, because we didn't have the accidents. But what was very helpful was testimony from the last meeting that I had with KDOT, and that was with Eric, was to say the problems that they were having when they were actually trying to go to an accident, say on 35, when they're trying to go north on 75, vehicles are not moving over because it's a gravel road. I mean, it's a gravel shoulder. They know it's unsafe. So if they're doing 65 miles an hour, they're not moving over on gravel road at 65 miles an hour. And so those are the issues that we were able to bring up, Eric was able to bring up to basically the state, and also the letters of support that I have submitted with my application. I really feel that we're gonna have maybe a successful grant this time. But we're gonna pay quite a bit. I mean, I put in, I think it was around 27% of the cost, plus we have to pay for the engineering and inspection costs that would be in addition to that. So that's gonna be another, if we get it, that'd be another decision that you'll make to say if we move forward on it, but I would support it if we did. Because I did have also a landowner, a resident that was visiting about 8th Road, 8th and 75, and they were talking about an individual that basically was trying to get off the road because there was a big truck that was just right behind them. And so they actually got a little scared. And so when they got off the road, they almost did a donut on 8th Road trying to get away from that big truck. And so it really scared that individual. And it's an older driver, but they were definitely something that wasn't recorded, but something probably happens.
We almost got the same thing down on 75 and then 50 going west, east towards Leroy. It's shocking how many people have to make a U-turn and come back and get on 50. I've seen it several times. And lack of lighting once again, or lack of proper marking. Maybe it isn't properly marked. It probably is, or they'd be changing it. I don't know how to solve this issue or problem.
If you think that's bad, you ought to be trying to get off and on highway between the bridge and New Strong,
Oh, yeah.
especially on that curve.
Yep. Those are things we just have to tolerate, I guess. Hope for the best.
Yeah, unless you want to send somebody out there with a okay, I shouldn't say that.
We don't need flag people scattered up and down 75.
It's unfortunate, but it's just basically the rules that they follow. It's the book that they use, and it's a guide. So that's the one that's used, and it doesn't work to our advantage in the rural setting. It works more towards the bigger cities.
They're gonna have rules. There's gotta be some guidelines.
There's some engineering judgment that falls into play, but a lot of times it's to check off the boxes. And so if there's not enough of the boxes that are checked off, then they don't necessarily move forward to try to change something. Because just like anything, if you change it for one, you have to change it for all as much as you can. So consistency.
Anything else for Wayne?
We'll have Jeff here next week, and I think he'll definitely help out and give more information on equipment. So you have a few things there. I believe he's also going to visit about the auction items, or one of the auction, or not the auction, but basically the steel there at the landfill is to go ahead and make a motion to sell the steel a little earlier than we normally do, but the price is up quite a bit. But he's going to have a very good handle on the equipment and visit with you about that here next
So
week.
he'll take your place next week.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Thanks for your update, Wayne.
All right, thank you.
We are at our break time, but Eric, have you got something you want to bring forward to the commission?
I don't in particular, no.
I'm sorry?
I was talking to the county attorney about an issue I think he wants
Okay.
to talk to you about.
All right. Before we go to roundtable, which I don't know how long that's gonna last, I have no idea what anybody's got. You wanna take a quick break?
Sure, be fine.
Take about a 10-minute break. Angela, these 2 minutes, do you want me to sign these
I'll
and just,
keep them.
I'm sorry?
I'll wait until Tom comes back since he opened those.
Okay.
I kind of thought you might.
Now this week's, I'll have you sign.
Yeah.
I never.
I'm sorry? No. I just told him, you know, he's got a dollar. I haven't heard nothing from her since.
Something has to be better to say, Jane. Obviously, it was something in our little meetings, so video. Us running calls. I had it happen, I know Alex has had it happen, they go up there, they're working on it, because they suddenly see you, oh, they let you know, and one of them, you turn on the phone, so you hit the gravel. I had to evade him. Of course, you're hopefully paying attention to that point, you're ready to react. But it's just, you gotta do some kind of listening, faces, shoulders are down. Yeah. I don't understand why, for all the years, probably can't, still, yeah, still.
It doesn't make any sense.
Person say it's money, it's money. You decide to listen to Woodson County before Coffee County was a 54 highway in South by Fairfield. Yes. We have. Oh, yeah. We were not there. I'm very too short, too long. Too short.
I don't know, because I don't want to report anything. I don't want to report it. Kind of get curious. I didn't talk to them. Hopefully we'll move on. Yeah, we want to be careful what we report. Is anything else? Is there?
No.
County jail, yes.
Yeah, they are.
Well, I think all the it's true. It's not too cheap. It's not truly $8 million, but it is on the street. And what level of getting coverage? What level of last name? So we got the main cartel level, which is small. So the next level, the next level, that's where you get the. That is somewhat spread. Originally, likely, yes, and original likely came from Asia.
That'd be interesting.
Okay, we are back from our break, and the agenda as we have is complete. We're ready for roundtable. Wade, you want to start with you, or you want to start with Angie, or how you want to do it?
Couple of things to start with me, I guess. I invited the undersheriff to come down, talk about a couple things with me. One, the Justice Center project itself, and maybe to help the citizens understand what the Coffee County Sheriff's Department in particular, the jail is dealing with. I think it's probably a good idea to provide weekly updates about the inmate capacity in the Coffee County Jail. So right now, there are presently 15 total, 13 males, 2 females in the Coffee County Jail. And then there are 3 males and 4 females being held in 3 different counties. The capacity of the Coffee County Jail is 18 and 26. I think the sheriff said if you put votes on the floor. I'll let the undersheriff explain why, if we have the capacity to add more, why we have inmates farmed out to other counties. And I think he can do that better than I can. Just so the public's aware, and maybe so the board is aware, I counted 16 total of the total number of people. 16 are not from Coffee County. They're from somewhere outside of Coffee County. And that could mean another adjacent county, another faraway county, and 5 of them are from another state altogether. So just
Those 16 have been people we have incarcerated, though. It's not coming from, we're not housing for other counties, people that we have.
my understanding, there is 1 being housed for another
But
county.
the rest of them are people that we have caught in our county violating.
Of the 16 that are from other counties or other states, obviously they're all alleged to have committed an offense of some sort that leads to their incarceration. But they were brought in by law enforcement on some charge, and that's why they're in the Coffee County Jail. They all have a bond. Well, the majority of them have a bond. If there's new people, then we need to have them before the court to set a first appearance. But if they're in custody, the judge is likely to set a bond, which is what's required. And I think that's all public information. But I think it's important for the public to be aware of what is going on in our current, in the jail. And, you know, people say, well, law enforcement's out there trying to drum up business so that they can justify this new justice center. I would encourage anybody, if they look at the list, I make an active effort with the court to try to get people out of jail, because there are certain people that, in my opinion, that need to be in and out as quick as possible. There are other people who I think are a danger to the community, and for a variety of, or flight risks, or for a variety of reasons, and bond needs to be set at what it is, because either I don't think they're going to come back, or I think they're a danger to the community. So I think that needs to be known as well. But I'll let Undersheriff come up and explain sort of the inner workings and why we have 15 in jail farming out.
So what happens is, normally in the industry, what you're trying to do is you want to make sure that you have some beds available if something were to happen, say over the weekend. We can't put inmates out in the hallway. We can't put them out in the garage and have them sit in a patrol car until we can find a bed for them. So what everyone does in the industry, if you've got a full jail, you're scrambling. If your jail is completely full, you are scrambling to find a place to put people. Right now, we have 7 people out, I believe 7 people out farmed to other jails. We have 1 from Lyon County, and we've spoken on a homicide for purposes of keeping them separated. We try to work out deals with these counties just as they would work out with anyone else, to try and lessen those costs. But that's what we have to do, and our jail administrator does a fine job of communicating with these other jail facilities. Where are you at? What do you anticipate? What does it look like for you next week? Of course, nobody can predict exactly what's going to happen over the next week, but you have history to look at and say, well, I'm probably going to be okay. If you want to, if you come up with a problem, you can give me a call, and we should have the ability. That's the kind of thing you do. You just constantly try to find bed space.
So we're spending $245 a day right now just farming out.
I haven't done the math, but
No,
I see you.
Well, I took that $35 basic plus the expense of transporting those people other places. So really more than that.
As the sheriff likes to say, it's the cost of doing business.
It seems like a lot of our inmates are in there for some type of drug or meth or whatever you want to call it. We're getting into areas I know nothing about. Has a traffic stop or a speeding ticket led up for those people to be caught? Because you wouldn't know what vehicle's going down the road that's carrying meth.
You bring up an interesting thing.
What triggers so many of these people, inmates that are out of county or out of state, they're meth? Something triggers them to be stopped to get caught.
Almost always, it's a traffic violation.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm just curious what your response was.
Yeah. So, you've hit it on the head, and that brings up a point that I was speaking to someone else about earlier. And that is, folks look at the population of Coffee County and they say, it really hasn't changed over the last 10 to 20 years very much. Why are we needing so much more? Well, I'll tell you what, if you try to pull out on Highway 75 in Burlington over the past 10 years, compared to the way it was before we got this new bridge north of Burlington, you would say there's an astounding difference in the amount of time you have to sit and wait on traffic to get out on the Highway 75 from a side street. That's because the population on US 75 and I-35 has increased tremendously. I would say doubled or more. I mean, I haven't done any studies or looked at any, but obviously there's a lot more traffic out there, which brings more folks into our county, and not everyone is going to be on the up and up. Also, the individuals that we pull over will indicate some further investigation needs to occur. And as a result, they'll end up getting caught with controlled substances or whatever it is, yeah. We're seeing an uptick in meth and now heroin.
It seems like there's a huge uptick in our drug situation.
Yeah.
And you're just fortunate to discover because of a traffic stop.
So, and folks need to understand, you know, part of the idea is, yeah, it's personal use, but it's methamphetamine, it's heroin. That's not the driver I want next to me in heavy traffic. So that's the kind of thing that we're asking the officers to be very, very, first of all, be wary of so that we know that's occurring. And two, they need to be careful because a secondary problem that's occurring is fentanyl-laced products. And this is very dangerous for our officers. So the environment for our officers right now out there on the road has changed a lot in the last 10 years. It's much more, you have to be a lot more cautious now, and it's not that guy jumping out with a gun, but the things that can poke you, stick you, and change your life. So,
I think Neota Shea PD, just over the weekend, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was like a $13 million street work.
I just heard that fact myself. I didn't know that. That's incredible.
Just, I think it was Saturday night, I think they pulled over a vehicle and they had, I don't know how many pounds of drugs. It was like, I think one of them said $13 million street value. I mean, that's huge.
And as law enforcement, we know that that's not the only one that's around. We didn't get lucky to get the only one coming through.
Exactly.
So you got to be aware that it's happening.
But I can't figure out if those type of people they're carrying drugs or whatever they're carrying. Why would it be stupid enough to commit a traffic violation and get stopped?
Well, they're not very smart because they're carrying drugs.
Either that or they're under something and don't know what they're doing.
Not all of
Which
them
is
can be
probably,
like, not all of them
more
can be
times
like
than not.
Clint Eastwood, the mule.
I think we all fully respect our law enforcement for for the atmosphere they're working in and the risk that's involved in it is, we probably can't even comprehend what that risk is.
And I'll just mention, and it's something that Eric didn't bring up, but the number of stops that law enforcement make either on 75, 35, or other roads within the county, and this is in Kansas, adjacent counties nationwide, where you have a criminal element and you have a loaded firearm within the vehicle. And fortunately, that happens in Coffee County more than probably any of you would like to hear it does, more than the public would like to hear it does, because I'm not talking about the law-abiding citizens who carry. I'm talking about people who
Shouldn't own a firearm.
they shouldn't own a firearm, and fortunately, we haven't had a shootout on the highway. But I mean, isn't that something you guys deal with on a regular basis here in the county?
It absolutely is. I mean, the criminal element in connection with a firearm, I'm second amendment all the way. I think everybody should have the ability to carry. But if you're going to engage in certain types of activities, you shouldn't have a firearm with you. That's just the way it is. And by the way, that just goes to simple going out and having a drink. If you're going out and drinking, you need a designated driver, then you probably shouldn't have your firearm with you either. You know, these are the kind of decisions that people need to make. And normally the law-abiding citizen does make the right decision on that. Of course, those who are breaking the law aren't worried about a misdemeanor charge of having a firearm while under the influence. So we run across.
So the next topic is just to give you an update. Last week, myself, the sheriff, undersheriff, and Commissioner Beats took a tour of the current project in Lynn County with their jail. I think it's 40 to 45% complete. So just so you're aware of just some basic thoughts behind that project, it's going to be approximately 40,000 square feet. It's going to house the sheriff and the sheriff's deputies, 60 beds, 2 courtrooms, dispatch, district court clerk, prosecutor and 2 judges. In essence, it is a similar footprint to what Coffee County is looking at. Their population is similar. I don't know what their criminal caseload is, bringing it to their prosecutor. The prosecutor could give a figure off the top of his head, but that information could be looked into and provided. Myself and the undersheriff took a number of pictures, and hopefully within the next several weeks, we'll put together a presentation. We'll have the TV with the capability to show behind so the public can see it as well. And then that is just some ideas of what it looks like at that current state. They anticipate to open that facility in, I think, what do you say, March of 22?
March 22.
March of 22. The figure that we were told for the total cost of that project was $20 million.
24.45.
So,
Because they had the bonds for 20 and they had to put in 4.45 million of their own funds.
and they have cut some costs out. There's an explanation about their IT is running a bunch of their equipment. I think the sheriff said there was around 4 miles of wiring that's going to go into that structure. So it's another project for a similar thing that Coffee County is trying to do. And hopefully we'll be able to provide some additional information related to that project to not only this board, and this board has invited the sheriff said, send your commissioners out, come take a tour. They'll get handed a hard hat, and then they'll walk you in and they can show you around. So, have anything to add? Which leads me, any questions about that? I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Do you have anything, Don, that you want to add?
You know, right now for me, it is hard to visualize just exactly what the finished product will really look like. All the pods are in. I don't know how much semi-loads of concrete blocks is in that structure, but it's gonna, you know, it's undoubtedly gonna be a very functional facility. It'll look like any other business. The outside's gonna be metal with some brick. The interior is basically all concrete blocks for support and everything else. There's, like I said, I don't know how many semi-loads of concrete blocks are in it. There's lots and lots. The concrete, or the floor is all gonna remain concrete. We're not gonna put any carpet down, not gonna put any even epoxy down. We're just gonna have the concrete as is, probably polished up pretty good. Although the courtroom, I'm sure it'll be, you know, there'll be parts of it will be dressed up a little bit. But there's absolutely nothing fancy about that facility at all, as you can see it now, and as they tell us, it's gonna be finished. So it was a great day to spend a couple hours there with the sheriff and other support people that's overseeing the construction part of it on behalf of Goldberg. And I would encourage all of you, now's the time to go look to see what the unfinished product is. It's gonna be hard to visualize what the finished is, because in the next 6 months, I think Wade said 45% complete now, but as they told us, the last 6 months, everything happens all in a pretty quick time frame. But it's gonna be quite a facility, and basically the same as what we're looking at.
Some of the key features that I noticed that had to do with the facility, you have a sally port where law enforcement will drive in one end and be able to drive out the other end. And right now, we don't have a sally port. And I think at our special meeting, that was described and explained. And for those who didn't make it, the sally port for the Coffee County Jail is not storage. And there's nothing that can be done about it because there's no room. So that had to be done. And instead of having a sally port, law enforcement pull up to the back door, they walk around, and they have to go through the back door of the facility. It's just the way it is. There's no way around that right now. Another feature, and the sheriff did a good job of explaining it, is there's a hallway that's going to be next to the courtrooms. And you go directly from the jail down the hall, and you'll be able to be taken into these courtrooms. Why am I bringing that up? In our current setup, you walk by, if the undersheriff is bringing an inmate through, you have to go by the small courtroom, the judge's chambers, the administrative assistant, district court clerk's office. All of those things are, and they're a concern to me. I'm sure they're a concern to law enforcement as well. Do you have anything to add about that?
Well, it's a constant thing that we have to keep in mind when we're bringing somebody over. Not everyone is a danger, but when you have those individuals who have a propensity, then you always have to make concessions to make sure that those avenues are cut off, that we're ahead of them and behind them. I mean, and by the way, if the individual decides to do something, it's right there in an office hallway. Sheetrock, doors, things to bang your head on, and the fight is on. It's happened, but we do try to make contingency plans to make sure that we have those avenues covered. If we could lessen that threat, that risk rather, if we could lessen that would be ideal.
And I'll give you a real life example. This actually happened in a courtroom. When I was in Allen County, there was a murder case, and as the judge is reading the verdict, or not the verdict, the sentence, if I recall, may have been the verdict. The defendant had a device on their body, which, if they got online, one of the jailers could push a button, and it basically would shock them and take them back. This individual was an athlete, and as soon as the verdict was read or the sentence was read, they ducked under the table. That device was ineffective. They ran up to the bench. The judge jumped across and went behind the bench. This individual went back into the judge's chambers where they were attempting to find a window to escape from. They were unsuccessful and they were tased. And at that point, it happens. And that's in Allen County. And that's an example of when I was there. Somebody who has nothing to lose. You cannot predict what they will do. And fortunately, we've not had that situation arise here, at least since I've been here, and maybe it's not happened in the past, but all it takes is someone to have that mindset, and who knows what they'll do. And you have to be able to handle that in a very responsive and be very proactive instead of reactive. So, which leads me to my next topic for the board to consider. And I was hoping that we'd have a full commission, but I would like to plant the seed for the entire board to consider this project having a project manager. I think I've done everything I can to help push this project, not because I have some personal investment in it as a county attorney. I do believe the project is important and needs to happen, but not for my own self gain. And I do think the county attorney's office needs to have a conference room. If cases continue to rise as they have, the complexity, the seriousness of those cases, somewhere down the road, the county attorney's office, whoever is in that role, will have to come to this board and ask for an assistant county attorney. Are we to that point? No. But trying to predict the future, I don't know. That's one of the issues with the public. 80 beds, how do you know that that's what this county needs? We don't. So I think to take myself out of it, to take the sheriff out of it, because the sheriff and I work very closely with the jail side of it, with the inmate side of it, with the prosecution side of it, to have a project manager who is a neutral party who can bring you facts that aren't skewed, that there's no appearance of a personal motivation, but there's not. But I get it, and it's just the way it is. I think that's something you need to consider. I know there's other projects out there that have project managers. there was a project manager in Lynn County who walked us through the project, at least the bones of the building, so to speak. I don't know at what point in time they came on board, but other counties have project managers on board from the beginning so that they can come in and talk about the things, and they can look at what the project looks like and give the commissioners as well as the public a neutral opinion on what they see, whether it looks right, whether it doesn't look right, whether something's off. It may be an additional accountability measure, and it seems like at this point, maybe that's what the public wants. Because at our special meeting, there were some concerned citizens about, why do you need this? Why does it have to be so big? And I think both myself and the sheriff have, stuck our necks out there, and rightfully so, because we believe this needs to happen. But I think we need to potentially take a step back, look into the project manager idea. Any thoughts?
Just that, the idea of having somebody in there as a third party, that third party objectivity is probably essential right now when we start talking about the cost. We have people ask all the time, well, why does it cost so much? Why does that cost so much? Why do you need that? This individual will be somebody that, and there are plenty of them out there. We met a couple at this tour, but this individual will be able to tell you, here's what the industry looks like. Here's what we normally do. Let's say we have a cost overrun. Are there alternatives? This individual has seen what alternatives are out there. I think Commissioner Meeks asked some questions about the roof, and they explained how the roof is constructed. And if you weren't going to do it that way, here's another way you would do it. But we believe this is the ideal way to do it. Or the architect has suggested something. Your project manager is able to tell you, yeah, we've done this on another project. Here are the problems we run into, or something along those lines. We don't have the expertise to do that. We, as a body, need somebody in there that has that expertise that can advise us and give us an idea. If we start talking about costs, I think it's essential to be able to back that up with individuals that have a working knowledge of the industry. And so this has been a discussion we've had for a little while now about whether or not, when's the good time to bring that individual in. And we believe perhaps now will behoove us to start now with that.
And that was one of the pluses that they brought up out there, bring someone in that's got the expertise to answer all the questions. And it's not directly related technically to our county attorney or our sheriff's department. And yes, there's no question that individual is going to cost the county some funds. But for what he could bring to the table, it's probably going to be more than offset on what he can provide for us in service. I did ask a question on change orders over there, because I know you get into these type of projects, and I've never been involved in a project of 20 million plus. I've been involved in some pretty good sized projects, and you always got change orders. The change orders that they've had have had several, and they didn't say the exact number, but they've had 2 or 3 of the change orders as they proceeded in the process of early construction that's actually brought back a pretty good refund, more so than a change order that went the other way. And that's only because you had a professional project manager on staff that were able to discover those things and was able to save some cost. And that probably isn't always the case on every project, but I don't think there's any question. How quick we need to retain somebody like that, I don't have the answer for that. But a project manager to be the leader for this project, I think could be a huge plus in the long run. And the cost of that, I don't.
Definitely need to have somebody there to make sure that the golfer, whoever it is doing the right thing.
And answering correctly to you.
Yeah.
And Goldberg, or whoever the lead architect is, probably going to be in the way it looks. Goldberg will have somebody on staff make sure it's being done as they've got it designed.
Mm-hmm.
But they won't probably point out the things that a project manager could point out to be a plus for us. So I think it is something we need to look at. And I think you're right. It'd be good to have all 5 of us here to make those decisions. And how quick that decision and how we go out and secure and interview somebody for that position, I'm not real sure. We'll let Wade and Eric and Tom maybe lead us in that.
But what are the board's thoughts about it first? I think we don't necessarily need Tom here for the board to decide that it at least needs to be explored to figure out what that looks like and how to bring forward some viable candidates to the board where they can present what their background, experience, and expertise is in this type of situation. And from there, you get to ultimately make the decision on how that moves forward, what that would cost. And these are things I don't know.
I think it, I mean, for a job this big, this much money, I think you need to have somebody there overseeing it, relaying information back to the commission and to the county taxpayers. I mean, as far as what it's gonna cost to retain somebody, you know, I don't think we're at that point right now to retain somebody. I think once we figure out A, where it's gonna be, B, how many beds it's gonna be, C, you know, I mean, there's a lot of things we still gotta figure out before I think we hire a project manager. I feel, but I think it's definitely something to entertain.
And I'm not suggesting anybody needs to be hired without that information being known. I've said all along, location, size, financing, and then move forward from there. But at least to have an idea of who is available, who's out there, what, based on what we know right now, and anticipated cost for someone to sit in that project manager role. They may be able to provide at the front end, and I don't know, this is just me guessing, I don't know what they provide, but
Or which point in time did they bring their project manager in?
so I think for Lynn County, they did it at the back end, once the project was approved, but there are other projects that I'm aware of, and I think what they mentioned, Dickinson County, that's ongoing right now, where they have a project manager on board from the beginning. And the reason why you want to have a project manager on board from the beginning, my understanding is, and they can explain it better than I can, is for accountability up front. So you don't have, is what's anticipated, say, right now we have a $25 million price tag. Can a project manager who is involved in the industry and has an expertise in designing and building, look at that and say, yeah, this is needed, or it's all up to par? Because that's one of the questions that the public has. Your $25 million price tag, and that's what would go to the ballot, $25 million, at least, you know, if that's what the figure is, or 20 million, or whatever it might be. Could this project manager look at it and say, yeah, this isn't what it needs to be, it needs to be lower, or this is the industry standard right now based on the cost of materials, and this makes sense. So that it doesn't look like we have Goldberg, and I'm not saying that he is, and this is how it operates, because I don't think he does, but that he's throwing figures out there that can't be justified. You have that additional insulation from somebody who is neutral, and they can look at it, and they work for the county, and their job is to make sure that the county is getting the best value for what they're putting into. That would be what the goal would be of the project manager. So I think it's worth exploring, at least now initially, to see what they could provide based on where we are. And it may be they come in, let's see, and say, yeah, we need to wait, and this is not right for our involvement. Or they may say it is, or there may be stages. We can come in at stage 1. Here's what we can do and provide. We can come in at stage 2. Here's what we can do and provide, or stage 3. I think you need to have all that information and make an educated decision based on what they can provide and what they can do.
Yeah, to me, the time frame for retaining somebody like that, if we do decide, you know, it may be a little bit immaterial, but I see absolutely no reason why we couldn't go ahead and interview 2 or 3 firms, and at least we would know where we're at up front, whether we want to bring somebody in fairly quickly or wait till the project's in phase 2 or 3 or 4. I'm sure there's nothing wrong with interviewing early, That way you can make a decision on how quick you want to move forward.
I'm sure it'll be a percentage of total cost bill, be my guess, is what they're gonna do. I would assume.
You assume what, Judge?
That it's gonna be a percentage of total cost, be my guess.
I have no idea. And I'll bet you're right on that.
So my suggestion would be that we reach out to some potential project manager entities and have them, invite them to come in and talk about to the board what it is they could provide and what that would look like. And that's without even any idea that they're going to be retained or not, because we don't have enough pieces in place to say, we'd like to bring you on board with this project. But then you have an idea of what a project manager can do and provide to the county, and if the county's interested in their services.
You know, every presentation of those type of firms or those type of companies come in and provide what they can do for us. Most of those projects, same location we are, very, very beginning, very early. And they know that's their, you know, they know that's what their position is. Yes, they're trying to present themselves, what they can provide for us, what they could, funds they could save for us, even though there's a cost tied to it. But anytime they make a presentation, you know, they gotta sell themselves on why they're the right firm and at what point in time we need to bring them in.
See, that's the big thing, what point in time and how much are they involved from the start? Even getting the land or whatever.
Yeah, I've seen nothing wrong with asking Wade to secure 2 or 3 high-quality firms. They don't cost nothing to have them come in and do an interview.
I don't know if I'd say the word secure.
Sorry?
You said secure. Secure means to bring them on board.
Yeah.
Interview. I think not even interview. Have them give their pitch on why, what they do, and why Coffee County would benefit from their service. The explanation I was given, and it's a very compelling explanation, is these individuals, as the structure is being built, go through and watch. And what was the example? There was a question on 13 wells that were done at the Lynn County facility. And they brought that to the commissioners to look at, concerns about how these wells were done. And then the question was, do they get redone or do they not get redone? But it's as detailed as that. And that's important because you have somebody, would the designer or builder come in and say, we're concerned about these wells? They wouldn't. They might. But you have a project manager who is working for you so that these wells, if there's an issue with them, they know what they're looking at, they know what to bring forward and say, look, there's an issue that they need to be corrected. So I will work with the sheriff and under sheriff and maybe some others that we need to see who is out there, who would be willing to come in and explain to the board what a project manager's role and responsibility would be. And depending on when they came on board, what that would look like. And we're not even going to talk about numbers to begin with unless they can provide that as well. Does that sound fair?
This consensus of the board to have Wade to move ahead?
Yeah.
And it's not going to cost the taxpayers anything to have an inquiry.
Won't cost nothing to sit here and listen.
Okay. Anything else to add?
No. Thank you.
Okay. So what I might do is pass the baton because I have 2 executive sessions I'm going to request and to let everybody else go unless you want to go ahead and do it now. But continue on with roundtable and just know the back end. This is something that I'll be requesting. The last thing I have is, as the board knows, HR Partners is on board. They're going to be helping the county with the mitigation of the HR audit, and at least starting this week, Christina Dietrich from HR Partners is going to be coming down to Coffee County and meeting with department heads. I think it's on individual basis, to discuss sort of the plan moving forward, to talk about some, what their vision is and how to move forward with that. So just so you know, that is in the works. I think, that's set to occur Wednesday and Thursday. So just so you know, I don't think anything's been said about that up to this point, but just so you know, it is moving forward and the project is in full swing. And I think I was told, or maybe I read it somewhere, maybe it was actually in the paper because I wasn't here. With HR partners, that does not mean that if the county has an issue related to HR, that an employee or someone within the county call or contact HR partners for their HR needs. We're not to that point. That hasn't been decided. I think that needs to be the contract. What HR partners is providing at this point is a service related to mitigation response contained within the HR audit. At some point in time, the board will be presented, or maybe not, make a decision whether HR partners will provide an outsourced HR response so that they can provide that service to the county. That would be negotiated separately through a separate discussion and through a separate contract. We're not to that point. So I wanted to make sure the two are different. They're distinguishable and different at this point. Did I state that correctly? That's what there was an issue about employees contacting HR partners. Okay. So that's what I have for right now.
Angie, you have anything for roundtable? You've been awful quiet today, Stephanie. Jim?
All right, I've been hearing through the grapevine, RRS is gonna be requiring that small banks or any bank's gonna have to report any deposits or withdrawals of $600. So I did some discovery over the weekend, talked to our local banker, Mr. Meter, and right now, he felt it good for people to contact for legislation. And they got a website a person can do that on. It's secureamericaopportunity.com, and basically contacting your legislation and letting them know that you don't like this. That everybody's bank account anytime withdrawn or deposited $600 or more, the banks is gonna have to report that.
What's the current dollar amount that they got to report on withdrawal?
I can't answer that.
When I was, I think it's less than that, Paul. When I was at First National and Citizens, there was a dollar amount that the bank itself had reported. And I don't know what that value was, and 10,000 might be correct. But $600, anytime somebody gives you $600, like, and I have been a casino for years and years and years. If you want over $600, that's going to fill out what, 1099 or 1098? So maybe they're trying to tie those things all together where $600 magic figure. But I'd be opposed to 600. I mean, that's getting into too much
Pretty personal.
privacy.
Yes.
That they shouldn't have the opportunity to get into. But
I don't like it.
I hadn't heard anything on it, Tim. But it sounds like maybe we need to get on, learn more about
Exactly.
it. Okay. What's our time frame on that? Was there a date?
Well, I don't know. RRS, as far as mandating it, basically, if nothing changes, as far as the way I read it, it's gonna go into effect. It's trying to get the legislators involved and trying to have them do something about it.
Okay.
Tim, does it reference what specific law was passed that added that as a new provision. I think I've read somewhere that it was sort of contained, I don't know if we want to use the word pork, but it was pork contained within one of the laws that was passed by U.S. Congress at some point in the last year or so. Is that?
From what I understand, you're correct.
They'll probably sneak it in as one of those special votes before we know all the details. Yes, sir.
I was looking at.
I was watching you.
I'd like to make a clarification.
All right.
From the state level, there's not a lot we're gonna be able to do. Those are federal banking laws, so it'd be your congressman, more than likely is who you'd want to contact on that. I did look something up. Right now it's $10,000.
It is 10 now.
All right.
I knew it was, I didn't know sure where that figure was.
Now, Governor Ricketts has stepped in, Nebraska's governor, and saying that Nebraska's not gonna give in to it.
And we will protest. I think that's on board, but whether or not we'll have an influence on that. Truly, the Congress is the one that's trying to make this happen, and I don't know how much influence we can have on them, given the makeup right now, but.
Main thing, the individuals can go to secureamericanopportunity.com and let your legislation know.
Yeah. Good idea not to be quiet about it.
You bet. Thank you, Eric.
Anything else, Dan? Jesse?
I don't think I have anything.
Bob?
No.
The only thing I had was our trip to Mound City, but that's already been well discussed. I appreciate Wade and Eric leading the way on that. Andrew, what do you have?
Only a couple little things. I don't know if I missed when Wayne was here, Bob with Big Iron is willing to come in and answer any questions that you might have for their company's auctions, if you're interested in having them come out here. And then just the air conditioning to update. Whenever the parts come in, we get this air conditioner fixed, it will be, but I don't have a time frame on that. They're waiting on parts that they don't have a time on, but otherwise, it's not too bad in here.
Well, at least we're in a time frame where we're not fighting excessive heat.
Right.
Or excessive cold, so.
I think that's it for me.
Do you want to invite Big Iron or Purple Wave in?
They want to come in.
I think they've got just as much right as Heartland does to come in. I mean, if they choose to.
Do we want to?
I know Bob personally, so.
Yes, I don't know any of them. If we extend that invitation to Big Iron, do we want to extend an invitation to Purple Wave?
We can.
We can.
Andrew?
Okay.
Consensus of the board to do that?
That'd be fine.
Okay. You got your marching orders.
All right.
Wade, we're back. Thanks, Eric. Wade, we're back to you.
All right. I am going to request an executive session consultation with the county counselor to discuss ongoing county litigation for matters deemed privileged under the attorney-client relationship exceptions of the Kansas Open Meetings Act. Myself and the board, 15 minutes. That's under KSA 75-43-1982.
I'll move. Jesse has moved.
All second.
In a second. Any questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 4-0. We're going to 1063.
1063.
1063.
Well, where did I get that? We'll go in at 1103. It just switched to 1103.
And I've got the time.
You got the timer?
1063.
Okay, we are back. Wade, what else do you have for us?
Gonna request one more 15-minute executive session. This one is to recess into executive session to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel, specifically employee performance related to non-elected personnel exception under the Kansas Open Meetings Act, myself and the board, 15 minutes. 75-43-19 P1.
I'll make the motion.
Tim has moved.
Second.
Jesse is second. Any questions or discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 4-0. Let's go ahead 11:24.
Yeah, 11:24.
department members?
Thank you.
Here's Tony. We are back in. I don't know whether Wade's gonna be stepped back in or not, but I don't think he had, he's coming.
He said he didn't.
He doesn't have any more
He didn't.
technical issues anymore.
We got things to repost the more.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jesse's got his pink.
I got a
Jesse's got
ribbon.
his
Don,
pink.
I'm sorry,
do you want me to call Craig and tell him you'll be coming over?
I'm sorry.
Do you want me to call Craig, the superintendent, when you guys are done?
I'd be willing to go over there. I think we,
I don't think I'll go. I've already been there. So
have you been in?
Yeah.
I haven't been in, but Jesse, you want to take time?
Yeah, I can take some time.
You know, they said 10 or 15 minutes, I'd probably take care of it. I'd be more than happy to tour. That's pretty important daycare deal for Coffee County. So, like I said, we are back in. Wade, do you have anything else?
No, sir.
Bobby, I see you walked in. You have anything?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, yes, sir. Real quick.
Well, just take long, you can change your mind.
Guidance. I did have something I couldn't remember. I didn't want to. My question to the commission.
Step up to the microphone.
Oh, yes, sir. My question to the commission is, did you get the printout on the tax sale properties I prepared?
Oh, those two, 4 different properties on 2 different maps?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
How were we to get the email? I may have got them, but I don't know.
Yeah, he has pictures and everything. There's one parcel on one map and there's 3 parcels on another map.
Yes,
I'm totally unfamiliar with them, so.
Both communities are communities of interest, and I spoke with Commissioner Johnson lightly about it, and I hope that you have further discussion at a different time on this matter
I think that'd be good.
before the tax sale.
I think we need to evaluate it. You know,
Yeah.
I'm totally unfamiliar with it. In those locations, Bob will probably be more familiar with than any of us.
Yes, sir.
But I think we need to make a decision on it. And the tax sale is still 6-8 weeks away. It appears mid to late November.
And a little bit changed on one up by me, so I think it'd be a good idea to approach.
And lastly, I go before the city council on the Dollar Tree, the Family Dollar project. And the hope is that the city will agree to assist the project, either reimbursing the county for any assistance that might be given up front by the county to get the Family Dollar located, or they help Family Dollar directly. So I do that this Wednesday night.
Okay. We got any questions for Bobby? Okay, appreciate the update.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Bobby.
Anything else that needs to come before the commission? If not, we'll adjourn 11:44, Angie.
You guys want to head on over there, I can tell Craig.
Yeah, where's it at?
Right across.
The building.
Oh.
You know, I forgot, you got everything signed.
I'll do the website.